Okie dokie. Let us begin. So welcome. All right, welcome. So we are here for the Rise of the Phoenix. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to share this with you is that I really had a real, well, I don't know if you saw, there was a cloud in the sky and I was like, oh my God, that looks like the Phoenix rising. And I took a photo and it was exactly like the image that I used for the promotion for this workshop. And it just really inspired me because at the moment, the clouds and looking at the clouds, I really seem to be getting a lot of messages from the clouds. There was a dragon the other day. It's Year of the Dragon. There's lots of angel clouds and all sorts of things happening at the moment. So I'm really inspired by the messages and the cues and the taps on the shoulder and all that sort of stuff. So I wanted to share this webinar to really get into this shift that I believe we're in. Well, that I know we're in. That I believe since, say, 2020, obviously, we all know the world changed since then, and dramatically is changing on a day-to-day basis. There is so much happening all the time, new things changing, revealing itself, new things coming up, and really it's an opportunity for us to reassess. And I decided to do 3 webinars in a row because that's very much how I work also with my one-on-one clients, with the concept of, okay, we want to know where we're at. First, we want to know what is the current situation, where are we at the moment, and what is here? What is it here that we might want to change? So if we did a one-on-one coaching session, we would say, okay, where are you at and what would you like to do some coaching around? So let's focus on that in this way as well. So our Rise of the Phoenix is all about being aware of where we are and where we want to go, because it is easier to make a shift and to have some clarity around having a shift if we actually know where we want to go, or at the very least know where we don't want to be. And that is helpful. So today's session, we're going to look a little bit about looking at where we're at, what's happening in the world, how do we get here, and what might be happening in your own individual life as well. So anything we can see on a macro level, we can usually see on a micro level as well, and the other way around. What we see on a micro level, we can see on a macro. And where we have the most impact and the most power is on the micro, well, on ourself, in our own being and in our own reality, in our own world. So today's webinar, I really wanted to share how I know that the shifts happen. And I believe the shifts happen this way. And it's been a very powerful way, the way I have had massive impacts in my own life, as well as clients who are having massive shifts through this knowledge and this awareness. So I think it's an appropriate time for us to come together and to become clear about where we are and where we're going and how to get there. So I will just start by doing a little bit of a screen share. We're just going to have a look at a bit of a presentation that I put together, which I'm just trying to find. There we go. Okay, there it is. There we go. Did it. Hope you can see that okay. Let me just check. I think you can. Cool. Now, feel free to let me know in the chat if there is anything, if you can't see this properly or anything like that, or also if you'd like to slow down. Also, if you have any questions, there will be some areas in this presentation where we will have a little bit more of interaction time. And obviously, you'll get the recording so you can go through some of that in your own time as well. Okay, so where are we in humanity? Where are we at the moment? Okay. Now, we are humanity. What is humanity? Humanity is the collective. The humanity is society. Humanity is culture. Humanity is humans. doing, and humans being. Humanity is what we know of our reality and our reason for being here, really. What we're going to look at a little bit is understanding that what is challenging times. We've all had challenging times. What challenging times have we been through in the past? What challenging times are we experiencing now? And what can that be and mean to us, and especially in this concept of rise of the Phoenix? And then we will look a little bit more about programming and understanding that how we got here, and understanding how that process works, how we keep recreating where we are. We'll look a little bit more, then we start to get more into the subtle, and this to me is the powerful piece where we start to understand vibration and our vibrational set point. We start to understand us as a vibrational being, as beyond the physical meat suit, as beyond matter, as beyond what we see around us, and how to shift from where we are to where we might want to be, and how we go about doing that, and how raising your vibration, which I'm sure you've heard of plenty of times. You're probably well aware of it. You're probably doing practices around that. We're going to look a little bit more around the importance of it, how to go about it, and why we would want to do that in this concept and on this context. Okay, we're going to do it. Nope, it's not even going to. There we go. Okay. Humanity. So as we know, and as you might, depending on what you're putting your time and effort and energy into and what you're focusing on, there is a lot of cracks showing. There is a lot of hardship and challenges being exposed. There is a lot of corruption being exposed, things being dysfunctional. So these things are often a really great opportunity. However, it doesn't mean it's easy. Life isn't easy when we're going through change. If you've ever been through any experiences like breakups and financial hardships and all sorts of things, illnesses, well, you know that when you come out the other end, you've learned something, you've grown, you've reassessed, and life is very different. And often we are very grateful for the experience because of where it took us. However, in the meantime, during that process, during that journey, during the challenge, as we know, that's not the most fun experience to be in. I also recognize that, like with people I talk to, with clients, and obviously if we look around, we see that there is hardship or challenge on a global scale. Obviously, we know that. And also in our own lives right now, lots and lots of things are being reassessed on a bigger scale. We're assessing and we're questioning the global governments, we're questioning schooling systems, we're questioning financial system, corporate system. Everything is kind of discombobulated. Everything is being reassessed. And in your own life, you may also be doing that. What I'm hearing a lot is people asking, what is my best career choice? Or I'm not where I think I should be, or there is a deeper calling in me of where I want to go and what I want to achieve in life and how I want to live my life. And I don't feel like I'm truly living the life I'm meant to be living. So I feel like that's what's happening on a global scale as well. Humanity is starting to question the path we've been on. We are having friction as to, okay, so how do we change? How do we actually change? Because in the past, when we've made changes, we've often made changes in the same system. We've just kind of moved the system around a little bit. And you may even relate that a little bit within your own life. So if there's a career and you feel like you're not in the right career, but then you make a few subtle changes. So you might get a promotion, or you might add a little bit of skills to your career, but you're in the same job. often that serves for a little while. However, it doesn't actually mean that you feel like you're living on purpose now. It doesn't satisfy that calling. Same with relationships. Sometimes there's this underlying thing that's not working. Maybe it's time to move on. Maybe your soul is telling you this isn't the right relationship for you. And you make a few changes, you have some conversations, and things come right for a little while. Or you might change the way you do things for a little while, even move house, people have babies, things like that, in order to say, or to change the relationship dynamic. However, often we end up back in a cycle. And humanity has been in cycles and cycles and cycles of this for so long, as we know. How many times have we come to these peaks and to these moments of crisis, and the same solutions and the same thing, and then we sort of recover from that, and we, oh no, we're going to have a war, and then we don't have a war, we do have a war, and then we recover from the war, and then we feel better because we recovered from the war, but we don't actually change anything. We go round and round in circles. So this is something that I feel we're working with society, where we're now starting to go, okay, these cycles are gone. We're over it. We've done with these cycles. How can we do things differently? How can we actually break out of this cycle? So break out of the fog, break out of the norm, like really be willing to see something completely different and completely new that's outside the box, something that we have not done before. And of course, that's hard. Imagine if you set a business. So if you come in and you're going to completely revamp this business, and you're going to do business in a whole other way. It's a new way that's never been done before. Of course, it's scary. I mean, everything could fall apart. You could lose all the money you've invested. Anything else like that. It could look embarrassing. It could be something that's a major failure. Same with relationships, trying something new, trying to do a different way, different meaning in your relationship. There are so many ways that we can reframe the way we see things and the way we live our life. And I feel like as humanity, that's where we're at, is to truly be willing, like that last image there, just blindly stick your hand out from the fog, from the norm, and let's see what we can create from this space. Let's see if we can create something new. Now, we have gotten into, as we know, we've gotten into the human doing. It's all about achievement. It's all about achieving things, building things, producing things, more, accumulating things, status, qualifications, material things. All of those things we have gotten quite used to. We really felt like that's kind of what humaning is about. That's what our human life experience seems to be about. However, what we know is when we get to the end of our lives, anybody who gets to the end of our lives, and when we really have these crisis moments and we decide what's actually important, well, what's really important is the beingness, is the experience, is the time we spend with people, with animals. We are compassionate naturally. When people are suffering, we want to reach out. We want to support them. We want to help. When there are these moments of crisis, one of the reasons that we create these crises is because it brings us together. It happens so often. And this is, again, if we can relate this to a relationship, often people get in the pattern of creating a crisis in their relationship. They create a problem, they create an issue, they create a drama, they create an argument. And that happens a lot of the time, so that it reaches a peak. And in that peak, there is an intensified feeling of togetherness, that moment when you think you're going to break up. And that's when you reach out for each other. And that's when the bond feels that it's a way for us to break through the hard exterior, the busyness, the drama, because we sometimes need drama to rise above, to be louder than the drama of everyday life. And so when a crisis happens, it brings humanity together, because it breaks us out of that pattern of the day-to-dayness, the chasing, and the unsatisfying life of what's outside, what can I accumulate. When people have this drive and there's this achievement drive, so they really try and achieve in career, when there's a health condition and there's a health crisis, to snap them out of it, to create a little bit of a pause, it's a way to get off the treadmill. And often it's an opportunity to come back, to see the family and the people they truly love and appreciate. And then they really do have that moment of humanity. And that's what I feel. What is humanity? Humanity is connection, it's love, it's unity, it's what we truly, truly live for. When we are being a human being, that's when we truly, truly have life experience. That is what the essence is about. And often we will keep creating these cycles, even globally, in order for us to remember that, to bring us back to ourselves. There's nothing like a crisis to bring you back to your soul and back to yourself. Okay. How are we going? So are you understanding a little bit about that connection? And I'm sure that you feel that in yourself as well. So, maybe give a little bit of a heart in the chat. Thank you. To really get an understanding of, like, are you understanding? I know that this is a talking at you situation, but it gives us a bit of an idea. And I really hope that it gives you some form of a journey, that we do have a little bit of an understanding of what the path is and how we come out of this experience. So, as some of you will know, I am a big Dr. Joe Dispenza fan. I did a lot of his workshops. I've incorporated a lot of his work into my meditation work and with my coaching work. So this one of the aspects of Dr. Joe's work is also understanding our programming. Now, Dr. Joe mentions that, like, our mind is like a computer software program. So it is where it's just a memory bank. So I really like the analogy of understanding our mind like a computer, because when we do think about the fact that it is programmed, the mind is a programmed construct. So there are so many layers to this. There are so many layers to the understanding of that we are programmed. We come in with layers. We come in with certain essence. We come in with soul essence. We come in with soul constructs, or soul patterning, soul blueprint. That's the word I was looking for, a soul blueprint. And then we have our personality. So we have soul and we have the personality, and the personality becomes a construct. The personality becomes like an avatar. The personality is what we use as an avatar to engage in this reality. So we'll talk a little bit more about the 3D understanding. This is our 3D reality. And in order for us to be able to kind of be aware of all of this and this reality, we have our senses. So we can smell and we can see and we can touch and we can taste and we can hear. And all of that creates the imagery and the experience that we're having. Now, through life, as we come in as a baby, as we come in, we do come in with a certain amount of programming in the sense of soul blueprint. So there is an essence, there is an aspect of self that we come in with. As you know, anybody who's had babies, been around babies come in with a certain energy already, certain personality, certain awareness, certain essence. And that essence is the soul. However, then in this lifetime, we get to be whoever your name is. I get to be Wendy, And Wendy is a personality construct. I get to have the experience of life through Wendy. I get to experience life through Wendy. And over the time that I've had this experience with her, I have had belief systems, life experience, certain environment, cultural backgrounds, family dynamics. All of those things have impacted the personality construct that I get to be. And of course, when we come in and we, as we sort of get a bit older and we conform to our environment, to the family we're born into, the culture, all of those things, as we conform to that environment, we go unconscious to the fact that our soul may not have the same intention for this life experience as our personality may be expressing. So through life, obviously our personality construct and our family dynamics and expectations and programming we receive through life creates desires, experiences, goals, achievements, whatever else. And we can get lost, we can get off the path, and we can start to live for the personality construct. The personality construct becomes the player, or becomes the main entity that drives this life experience. Hopefully this makes sense. Does this make some sense? So understanding that that is not all of who you are. I'm not saying it's not who you are because you came here as a soul to have the experience. I came here to have the experience of Wendy. However, I am having the experience of Wendy. Just like if I go for a swim, I'm having the experience of swimming. I am not swimming. I am not, the swimming experience is not who I am. I'm having the experience of swimming. So when anything else that we do, everything else that we experience is an experience, and we use the avatar, we use the personality construct in order to be able to maneuver around, have experience, have emotions, taste things, see things, hear things, have these experience memories, create a memory bank of experiences. So that is one aspect of our life experience. That is a very powerful and very important part of understanding our life experience. We're having an experience, okay? So what if we want, and this is a Dr. Joe term, to break the habit of being ourselves, breaking the habit of being yourself. So you are not the mind, you're not the body. So you are not the one who had the experience, the environment, the parents, and all that sort of thing. You are having that experience. That is the experience of the parents you had. That is the experience of the culture that you grew up in. That is the experience of all of that. You are not that, though. You're also not this physical body that's tasting and touching and feeling and smelling. That's an experience that you are having. You are experiencing that through the body, and you are experiencing the mind, because you are actually a multi-dimensional being. Now, I know that you've heard this term, but when you really, truly, truly just pause for a moment, close your eyes just for a moment, take a nice deep breath in. As you breathe out, drop into this physical body, soften and relax into the physical body. Drop in, drop in, drop in, drop in. Now, in that dropping in, become aware already of a different dimension inside of you, a different reality inside of you. And just as we drop in even more, drop into that really still space, that sacred space that you can't even tell people about what that really is. That space that only you experience and know. Drop into that space for a second. That completely sacred, private place that nobody else can experience? Where is that dimension? Where is that existence? Yes, we say it's within us, but where? Can open a body and see this private room. Where is this space? And then feel for a moment with your eyes closed, come outside of the body with your eyes closed and just sense the space all around you. Just sensing the space all around you. And just notice that even with your eyes closed, you might even have an idea of seeing the space around you. So where is this space? Is this the third dimensional space? However, are we seeing it with eyes closed? Are we experiencing it with eyes closed? So where is it? And then can you expand even more? Can you expand into the infinite space, imagining just outside of this room, outside of this building, outside of this universe, expanding out and out and out? Maybe go into a place where you go when you dream. Go to a place where you go when you visualize, where you're creating, when you're out in that visualization, that creative, that dream state. So where is that space? So if you were to open your brain, open your mind, open your brain up, is there a room? Where is it? Yes, there is activity going on in there, but where is this space that you can see things? Where is it when you can dream and see things? Where is that? And can you sense a higher vibrational sensation, which we'll do some more of later? Then come back into wherever you call now and here. So come back into this here and now. So that in itself is a multidimensional aspect of being yourself and multidimensional being. There are layers of beingness, a multidimensional layer of beingness. We can be focused on the physical being, we can focus on the energy being, the mind being, the mindset, the intellectual being. So there are many ways that we can experience the being or the multidimensional being. So there's the energetic multidimension, there is the actual, what we could call location, although it's not a location dimensional being. We can focus on different aspects of ways to express being a human as being multidimensional. Now, it's helpful for us to just take a moment. How are we going with that? You're quite happy with that understanding of that multidimensional being self? It really is an important part of this experience. Thanks. Thanks, Sandy. Thanks. Yep. I know, I love that experience too. Okay, so let's go into the mind. Okay. Now we know we have a brain. And the mind is the brain in action. Okay, so the mind is the brain in action. Now, when we understand the mind, and I'm sure you've all heard of the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind, there is so much beneath the surface influencing. Is that how you spell influencing? I don't think so. I think there's an E in there. Your perception and beliefs. There's so much. So our conscious mind is, and I know that some of you, this is like basic stuff, but we'll just review it. It's always good for us to look at these things. And understanding that our conscious mind is only so much. And this iceberg analogy has been around forever and a day. I think it's actually Freud who came up with this analogy of what we see above the surface is only a tiny bit of what influences our mind and our life experience. And a good example of this, and I relate this to energetics. I see it more as an energetic thing. However, of course, it is expressed through the mind and through the personality. Where certain experiences have left an imprint and an understanding in the unconscious mind, where the mind is unconscious, where we're unaware, okay, where we're deep into that unconscious awareness. So we actually store that away. We're not conscious. Like right now, look around your room. You can consciously go, I am looking at this, or I am looking at that. You can consciously say, there is a computer in front of me. You can consciously say, I am this person. And so you can also consciously decide, I'm going to pick up this item. Now, our subconscious influences more on the level of how you might feel about the item that you're picking up. So you might have a whole story behind it, which we don't need to constantly keep in mind every time we go to pick up an item. If I say, I'm going to pick up this item, my conscious mind is saying, I'm going to pick up this item, and it wants to pick it up, and that's it. But my subconscious mind has a programming in there to say how much this thing is going to weigh, how far I have to reach to grab it, how much effort I have to put in to pick this up, what this thing is all about, that sort of thing. Like, so there's a lot of details that I don't need to consciously hold in my mind. The subconscious has a lot of that programming. Another example is, as we learn to drive, we consciously in the beginning are very much in the conscious mind, learning how to push this button and do this and do that and all these things. That's very conscious. And we're very conscious in the beginning on how to do these things. But after a while, it goes into our subconscious. So we just can switch off, and we've all done it where we just drive automatically. You don't have to think too much about how to do this, how to do that, turning, all that sort of stuff. It just kind of happens because our subconscious mind is, the programming of the subconscious mind is involved in that process. We also have, with the unconscious mind and the subconscious mind, there's a lot of in the unconscious where we may have accepted programming and beliefs that may have been, first of all, received when we are in an unconscious state. Now, the first part of our childhood is very unconscious. We're just like sponges. We're not conscious of the environment, of what the meaning is behind certain things. We just receive it, and it goes into the unconscious programming. We also can receive unconscious programming related to experiences we might have, like with relationships, when we have a shock, when we have experiences, traumatic experiences. And a lot of the time, in order for us to deal with those traumatic experiences, we will store this in the unconscious mind. Now, so that we don't have to think about it every day, and it doesn't even have it in the subconscious so much, the unconscious mind. But that is still part of the mind, and it still influences the whole experience. So it lays down a foundation. If we come back to the idea of a computer, it's the framework, it's the base framework, it's the base programming. So if we have the base programming of a computer, let's say Excel, and it's a bad example because I have no idea how to use Excel, but in Excel, I know that there is a certain amount of programming that is the foundational programming. Then there are certain codes that you can use, and there's a keys behind that. And then there is some real practical things that you can do with it. So if we think of the base programming that kind of really influence about what the outcome is possibly going to be, that would be the unconscious mind. So if we want the end result and the interaction, the interface to be different, we actually have to go back into the programming, the operating system, and recode the operating system in order for our Excel program to have a different outcome. Does that make sense? If we're trying to create a different outcome with our Excel program, but the operating system is still the same, we will constantly come up against the operating program, and we will constantly come up against the same thing, and we will not be able to make the changes that we think we want to make with the program. actually turned out to be not a bad analogy. So in order for us to truly change, we have to be aware of our subconscious and unconscious programming. So that's really, really, really key to get into the unconscious. So the power lies in knowing oneself. And I really like this. This is Carl Jung. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So again, quite often, isn't that just a great thing to think about when we think about, oh, that's so typical. Oh, that's always how it works for me. And oh, that's always the outcome. Oh, here we go again. That's just how my life is. Well, think back to the Excel program. If we go, oh, that formula again. Oh, this formula doesn't work. Oh, how typical. When I try and put this in, it doesn't work for me. Well, that's not just you. It's your operating system. It's the unconscious. So until we make the unconscious conscious, until we become aware of the operating program, we will constantly think it's just the way it is. We think that that's just my lot. Okay, so we really do create our own reality. When we see the outcome, when we see what's happening on a conscious level, a lot of that comes from the subconscious and unconscious programming. So we have to really have a shift in that deeper understanding in order for us to create the shift we say we want. That was a good one. That was a bit full on, but hopefully you got some of that. Okay, so let's take a little breath here. So let's take a little moment. And what I want you to do is bring your hands together and really rub them together really, really firmly. So you're creating some heat, but you're also creating energy here. Okay, so you want to create heat and energy between the hands. So keep rubbing, keep rubbing, keep rubbing, keep rubbing, keep rubbing. And then you're going to softly, softly take the hands apart with your eyes closed. And as the hands come apart, just notice that little bit of heat, that little bit of energy between the hands, and start to slowly move them further and further apart. Now, as you move them further apart, it might all of a sudden feel like you're not feeling that energy anymore. You might bring it back together. There might feel like a density there. You take it further apart, and it might, like to me, it's feeling sticky. So as I feel like I'm taking the hands apart, it's like there is a stickiness that's keeping the hands pulling towards each other. I can still feel the stickiness, and you might feel that as well. You might not, and you might want to bring it back in. So just play around with that little ball of energy or that stickiness between the hands. There, for me there, yeah, that's it now. That's where it's now feeling like there's not so much there. Okay. So opening your eyes. So you are energy. That little tiny experience. And again, I know that I'm probably preaching to the converted. Again, it's nice to have these reviews and to remind ourselves that you are energy. So if we know from quantum physics, we know everything is energy. Everything is energy vibrating. Everything is subatomic particles vibrating. So everything is energy. So you must be energy because you are part of everything, aren't you? I mean, if we're saying this microphone and these AirPods and all these things are energy, then you must be energy because everything is energy. So in order for us to shift dimensions, like we talked before, multidimensional being, we must raise our energetic frequency. We must become more energy, less matter. It's another Dr. Joe term. More energy, less matter, in order to experience a higher vibrational existence. So this is when we start to go beyond the mind and we start to understand the frequency of our existence. So when we just talked about the mind before, and we talked about subconscious and deep unconscious understanding, those influences can be seen more clearly and shifted more effortlessly when we get into a higher vibrational state of being. If we are in a lower vibrational state of being, a lot of the unconscious stays unconscious. And one of the reasons for that is vibrational set points and understanding what raises your frequency and what the vibration of experiences is. And so we talk a little bit in a minute about frequency of emotions. So emotions is energy in motion. So what is the frequency of the energy? What is the energetic frequency of a particular emotion? So we want to experience a higher vibrational existence in order for us to have a different perception of what is possibly in our unconscious, subconscious, or what is in the experience that we want to shift. So we talked before about what we see on the conscious level is a result of what is happening underneath the surface. So if we raise our frequency, we are able to, first of all, see what is happening underneath the surface easier, and also able to shift what is happening underneath the surface. So this is a nice way to look at that as far as raising your frequency. So as I said, emotions are energy in motion. So when we get to those lower vibrational emotions, and if you just look at some of these at the moment, so if you think about powerlessness and insecurity, hatred and jealousy, they're very, very low. Insecurity, guilt, powerlessness, hopelessness can be in here as well. You just think into that, you feel into those words for a moment. Hopelessness, insecurity, guilt, they're very heavy. It can suck the life out of you. When we feel insecure, when we feel guilty, when we feel those feelings, we can instantly drop and we can just lose the will to take action. We can lose the will to be inspired. We're not inspired. We just literally want to hide away. Often we want to sleep. Often we want to do lower vibrational activities like sitting in front of Netflix, eating junk food. Low vibration food, low vibration input, because it's a vibrational match to how we're feeling. If your vibration is low, doing something uplifting can feel quite jarring. You know what it's like when you're around a very super happy, positive, uplifting person and you're just really down and angry and feeling insecure and feeling like crap. That can be very jarring because the oscillation, the resonance is off. You're not in a resonance with that experience or that person. So when we then decide to blob on the couch, grab some junk food, so some low vibration food, and watch some low vibration stuff, or sometimes just mind numbing stuff, it can neutralize the way we're feeling. And sometimes that's not a bad thing. And I like this image because it's about spiraling up. It's not like having to just go up in a big, quickly and just from depression be in joy. It's about like, okay, and I really like this idea that if you're in depression, if you're in hopelessness, if you're feeling powerless, if you were to get angry, can you see how anger is a spiraling upwards? And we often associate anger as a negative emotion. However, it's a much more positive emotion than feeling hopeless or feeling powerless, because there is an oscillation there. There is a frequency. We're raising the frequency. If you imagine a wave of energy, and at depression, hopelessness, the wave is very long and slow. Whereas when we see anger, it's a higher frequency, isn't it? So we're actually starting to spiral upwards. And if we can continue to spiral up from anger, we would go into worry, doubt, impatience, irritation, frustration, pessimism. See, so when we're getting to impatience, irritation, frustration, pessimism, we're quite a long way away from powerlessness, depression, insecurity, guilt. We're quite a long way from that. and we've moved away. If we're pessimistic or frustrated, we've moved upwards from anger. So if you have a person who is angry, then they can move upwards from that. Okay, often some of those lower frequencies are actually part of anger. Somebody can be expressing anger because they are feeling jealousy, insecurity, and guilt, and they're avoiding those feelings because they hurt even more. It's even more painful to be in guilt and insecurity, so it's easier to stay in anger and to express in anger. It's a self-preservation, isn't it? So it's a different way to look at it. And then we can get into that sort of boredom stage. And boredom is kind of interesting too, because boredom is kind of like, if you imagine a seesaw, boredom is in the middle, isn't it? Boredom is just really this place of where am I going to go? What am I doing? It's a standing still. We're not in that depression. We're not up in that higher vibration. We're kind of in that middle point. We're standing still, which is not an overly bad place to be, because we can make some choices there. And from boredom, we can start to spiral upwards by making some choices. So from boredom, we can start to, I would put in, by positivity, where that seems like a leap sometimes, hopefulness. See, if I'm bored, we can go into hopefulness. So we could say something like, oh, and it says hopefulness up there, but personally, I feel like I would swap those over, because I think it's easier to be hopeful than to just be positive. I hope I'm going to do something exciting. I hope that things are going to shift. That's leaning the seesaw, hoping the seesaw to tip towards where you want to go. And from there, you could have some beliefs. Yeah, I believe it's going to shift. I believe we're going to get into, things are going to get a bit better. And then we can get into positivity. Then we can say, yeah, I feel really good about it. I feel really positive and optimistic that things are going to change. And actually, I'm feeling quite happy about some of the things that could come into my life. I feel quite happy about where I am right now, actually, and where I can move from there. I'm happy because I've actually gone up the scale. I was frustrated, and then I became really bored, but now I actually feel quite optimistic and happy. And wow, I've got some enthusiasm. I'm going to go and do something. I feel really enthusiastic about making some changes, and I'm going to write some lists and do something. And now I'm really eager to take some action, and I'm getting really passionate now about the things that I'm doing in my life, and I'm feeling really empowered. Like, yeah, I can do this and I can make these changes. I'm full of excitement and I'm full of love and joy, and I've got all this freedom. And and that is how we spiral upwards. And we can even, I don't know if you can feel that, but even just in this like little journey we just took, we can feel the spiraling upwards. We can see how we can talk ourselves into it, or even just feel and believe ourselves into it. And so this is part of having a multi-dimensional existence, like I talked before. It's like, from this perspective of joy and freedom and empowerment, we're going to look at the reality of the world, the reality of our own lives, the reality of our situation in a completely different way, aren't we? If you're in guilt, jealousy, hatred, insecurity, powerlessness, oh my God, if you're in those frequencies and you look around at the world, you can feel really hopeless, and you can really stay down there, can't you? You can just be really like, don't see a way out. Even in your own life, if we talk back to the relationship and the business and the job and all these things, we can look at these situations and go, there's no way out. This is my lot. I don't know how I could change things. However, when we come from a place of eagerness and passion and empowerment and joy and freedom, then we can see all the possibilities. We can see all of the changes. We can see a way out. We can come at this job prospect and go, you know what, if I'm coming at it from passion and love and empowerment and freedom, what's possible here? What could I create in this career? If I come at it in a relationship, how can we shift our relationship? If we let each other go, how can we let each other go with love and joy and freedom? So this is really powerful to me. I think it's a really amazing thing. You might want to do a screenshot, or I'll send this through as well, this little upward spiral, just as a reminder of how to move upwards. Do you love it? Do you love it? Yes, yes, yes. Very good. Heart, heart. Thank you. I love it. I love this concept. And this is what I mean about Rise of the Phoenix. This is what this is about. We can talk about it, the spiraling up. We can talk about this is the Phoenix rising, isn't it? This idea of moving from here. So we talked a little bit about what is a 3D experience. A 3D experience is what we see, taste, touch, feel, experience, everything else. So everything here is 3D. Everything here, the way we experience, the fact that things take time, that I have to move across the room in a certain way and it takes time, that is all part of the 3D experience. And you may have heard about 5D and 4D. 4D is more of the thought form realm. Okay, so that is like the framework of the transition. It's where a lot of like hovering, that's where a lot of things get kind of left. So people come into a 4D aspect and experience of thought form, of potential, of mind. And then we want to actually transcend that. And this is a lot of what we were talking about earlier on. How do we create a new reality? How do we move into this new world? We've been going around in those patterns. The patterns are in a 4D form. The reality of those patterns are in a 3D form. So in order for us to create something new, we move beyond the patterns or we change the patterns, just like the Excel program. The Excel program, the way it is written is for want of an explanation, the 4D experience. How we experience the Excel program is the 3D experience. If we want to change this experience, we change the program, the pattern, and that creates a new experience. And so we may change the Excel program to a point where we don't need the 3D experience. We can use the Excel like reprogramming to let go of the tangibility of the program so that we now actually have a concept. And a great analogy to kind of tie that in is if you think about how we've worked with computers. So think about the real basic dot matrix computers. And then we came up with new computers and now they're so much more interactive and dynamic and all that. But have you seen those programs that are like interactive almost in space? People can move things in space. Yes, there is still a framework behind that. However, it becomes less tangible. Okay, it's not physically firm. It's not hard. It's not in that hard form. It's not as much matter. It's more energy, isn't it? You're moving things in space. It's like a hologram and you're moving things in space. So that is kind of the concept of less tangible experience of reality, which we would call the 5D experience of reality. That's here right now as well. And we're already experiencing it. It's just where do we put our attention? Like, so in that computer analogy, so you've got this holographic way to deal with the computer. Do you concentrate on the holographic aspect or do you concentrate on the mechanisms that is making it work or the room you're in that you are seeing the hologram in? So if we concentrate on the hologram or the room you're in, the physical tangibleness of the room you're in. Okay, so that's kind of like start to focus more on the less tangible aspect, become more sensitive to the less tangible aspect. And that's how we become more aware of 5D. Okay, I just thought we weren't going to have enough to talk about, but there always is. Okay, we're getting into the good stuff. I'm getting hot. This is the stuff I love. So now we start to talk about alchemy. Now we start to talk about energy. So changing the frequency, like just read this with me, changing the frequency of thought and altering, listening, the harmonics of matter and applying the element of love to create a desired outcome. This is all very much Dr. Joe type of stuff as well. So the framework. So a big part of this is coming from energetics, understanding the energetics. So as you change your harmonics, like what I was saying before, your resonance, you change your reality. So what I was saying before about you're resonating with someone or not, you're resonating on the level of what you're watching, what you're eating, what you're experiencing or not. If you change your resonance, your harmonics, your frequency, then you will change your experience. Like I was saying about the spiraling upwards. If we come from those higher frequencies, those higher harmonics, those higher resonance, then what we perceive around us, what we look at, what we see has got a different way. We have a different way of experiencing it. We're perceiving it differently. And as we know with energy and anything, where your attention goes, your energy flows. So if what you are looking at is not what you want to experience, don't put your energy there. Don't talk about it all the time. Don't put your energy there. Don't focus on it. Don't ruminate over it. Be focused in the direction. When we look about the spiraling down or spiraling up, when we're in that boredom phase, we can also spiral down, can't we? We can get frustrated. We can start to feel bad about something. We can start to beat ourselves up and feel guilty about something. So we just keep spiraling down. Next minute, we're feeling guilty. You know, we've gone from anger, then we feel guilty, then we feel hopeless, then we feel depressed. So that's the same thing, spiraling up or spiraling down. So what you can give your attention to intensifies. That includes anything you want to have more of a experience of, you put your attention to. And simple way of experiencing that is your own reality, your own life. Anything that you put time and effort into, you get a result, you get an experience. So this is the same thing energetically, where we put our attention, where we resonate, what we resonate with, what input we get in, because that's back into the programming and what goes into our subconscious programming. Our next workshop, our next webinar is called The Purge, and that's when we're going more into that subconscious, just to clear out some of that and to be aware of what some of that is. And then we start to be more aware of, okay, so what am I a vibrational match to? What is your set point? So if we think about that scale, maybe you're resonating at guilt. Maybe you're resonating in an unworthiness on a subconscious level. And you can tell by what is happening in your reality, in your experience. Okay, that'll give you an indication of what is actually your vibrational set point. What are you a match to? And this is also where we're at, like with the world. We can see a lot of purging going on. We can see a lot going on in the world where it's coming to the surface. And so we can then also choose to engage with that and keep it into reality, or use it as a way to see what it is we do want to see or what we want more of. Are we going to add to it? Are we going to intensify it? Or are we going to create something completely new? You know, the hand coming out of that fog or out of that mist. This is what I call Rise of the Phoenix. I hope you're all still with me. I'm really mindful of your time. And if you get the recording, just take time to pause maybe and really write some notes down. I really love journaling. I'm a massive fan of journaling. And this can be ways for you to do some journaling prompts. So you can go back and each one of those things, like what is your subconscious programming? What is your vibrational set point? What do you resonate with? So going through some of those things. And the rise of the phoenix, it's just, again, when we look at the rise of the phoenix, it's burning off what is no more. It is burning off and being willing, and this is a big part of it, being willing to step into the fire of transformation. Fire is transformation. In yogic principles, when we talk about the chakras, we have the lower three chakras. And the third energy center, the third chakra is Manipura, and the energy and the element of that associated is fire. And also a big part of that energy center is transformation. And it's all about, like, when we get to that energy center, we start to ascend when we really work with the power, the passion, the power, the willpower, and the ego. And then once we really transcend past that energy center, we move to the fourth center, the heart space. And this is what I believe, when we can truly establish ourselves at that heart space energy, we then are what I would say what humanity really is. When we live from the heart, that is all about unity and union and connection. When we can establish ourselves, it's moving beyond those lower three centers of survival and passion and lust and desire and ego and power and all that sort of thing. When we move past those centers, not move past them as if there's anything wrong, but as we awaken and we utilize those energies, we bring them into alignment, we attune them, then we can establish at the heart space. And this is what I believe humanity truly is. And this is the new humanity. This is what we are meant to be, to live in that space. Little breather. I'll get you to read this and I'll read this to you. Hopefully you're feeling the passion. This is what I wanted to get to all along. And this is what I bring into a lot of my work. This is what soul coaching is all about, is reminding you of this. Now, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. And quite often that is what it is, isn't it? People think I'm not good enough. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And why do you think that is? When you think about what we just talked about, programming and what's in the world and the cycles we've been in forever, we ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Well, the world doesn't really encourage that. And we've seen so often when people do step into that real bright light, they are not rewarded for it. And few are rewarded, but there's always a price to pay, isn't it? You are a child of God. You are the consciousness. Your playing small does not serve the world, as we can see. Look how many have played small. What is the world? Where has the world gotten to? There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. Again, this is conditioning. This has been encouraged. If that, it's such a clever way to control, because if I keep you down because I'm going to criticize you for shining your light, and then you do that to the next person and the next person, we just regulate ourselves. We don't encourage anybody to be too big. We are all meant to shine as children do. You know, like we said before, that early programming, before you actually get told that it's not okay, we were born to manifest, to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everybody. And I 100% know that to be true. I know that to be true. I can't even tell you enough. This is so true. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same, instead of the other way around, dimming everybody's light. And if I'm dimming your light, you'll dim somebody else's light. And that way we encourage everybody to dim their light. But if we do it the other way around, we shine our own light, we give other people the permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. This is what the phoenix rising, the rising of the phoenix is all about. Burning off, being willing to die to that programming, being willing to die to that conditioning, being willing to die to that limitation. Years ago, I did this body shaping competition, and a big part of that was the training, which I loved, but also a big part of it was the diet, which I hated. And I was so resistant to it. There was this amazing guy who was coaching me. He was wonderful. And he used to always say, through the valley of death, Wendy, through the valley of death. And it really did actually get me through, because it was about like, just, you know, just imagine that trudging through the valley of death, you know, this darkness. And aren't we in the valley of death now? Aren't we seeing darkness? There is potential. And when I think about that competition, when I think about, okay, I'm hungry, I'm resistant, I'm pissed off, I don't want to do the diet, but there is an end in sight, and the goal or the outcome is what I'm doing it for. So just like through the valley of death, just go in, have your resilience, have your adaptability, have your strength, know that you are capable of moving through this, the valley of death. And so right now it's about like, how can you empower yourself? How can you keep spiraling upwards so that you can shine your light for others? How can you really cultivate that strength and that power to be reborn and rising form from the ashes? So to be the change. I just love this so much. This is exactly it. To be the change, like Marianne Williamson says in this, to infect other people with your light instead of dimming other people's light. Infect them with your light. Give them the permission to be who they are meant to be. It's such a powerful thing for us. From the darkness to the light, that truly to me is what rising from the ashes is all about. From the phoenix rising is all about. We've actually got a meditation that we're going to do shortly, from darkness to light, and you will also get this sent to you as a recording. So I really encouraged you to continue with this meditation as well, just in this period of time. And hopefully you'll join me in the next webinar, which is next Thursday, next week, so that we can go into the next stage of it, and where we go a little bit deeper about the unconscious and the subconscious. So we're getting there, guys. We're nearly there. So it really is up to us now, okay? I love you. And so I want you to just kind of feel that for a moment. Bring your hands to your heart. We rise above the lower frequency. We rise above survival and greed and lust and all of those things. We rise above power, that like overpowering. We rise above it and we come to the heart space. So take a deep breath in, close your eyes, feel into that heart space, feel into that humanity. You may even want to imagine linking hands and being here with all the people here, being here with you and me, being here with everybody else, being here with your family, humanity, however you want to see or feel it. And just taking the breath into the heart space and reminding yourself that I love you. And say that to yourself, I love you. And say that to the people in your life that you love. It's very easy. Those people that you love, your pets, I love you. And now think about that person that you just saw on the road today, just sitting in the car next to you. Just say, I love you. And then think about somebody who really bothers you, gets on your nerves, somebody you might even be having a hard time with, and say, I love you. And then just say it again for yourself, I love you. And then just really think about the fact that all of us, the person you love so much so easily, the person sitting in the car next to you, and the person who's struggling or you're struggling with, and yourself, we're all in the same boat. We're all just humaning. We've all had the same conditioning and programming. We're all trying to come back to love. So as we embrace here, truly feel, and one more time, I love you. I really do. I love humanity. I think we have so much potential. I think we are beautiful. Whatever we choose is not wrong because we choose it. However, let's choose up, spiraling upwards. So thank you very much. Thank you for this time. So our next webinar is next week. I'll send out some information about that. We're going a bit deeper. We're going into that unconscious. And then the next webinar after that is the Ascendants. This is where we really start to awaken our spiritual and cosmic self. This is where we become the enlightened beings that are going to be part of the ascend, part of the shift, and part of this movement into 5D. So thank you so much. And I am so grateful to be on this journey with you. I'm so grateful we're on this journey together. We're going to move into our meditation now. If you're doing the recording, I will send the meditation separately. And also, if everybody here will also get the copy of the recording of this recording and really use it as a journaling prompt, using it as an opportunity to go through and just take some notes, go in and be a bit reflective. I love you.